From the previous class, we have already created our database structure, and that means that we are able now to insert information there. So instead of doing that manually and going step by step, we can, let's say, automatically insert dummy or basically fake information into that, create fake skills, fake set of projects, and use that information to play later and show them and build step by step our single page application, or basically your portfolio look and feel, the user interface. So for that, we are going to use the factories that we created from the previous class. Essentially, remember, we have the factories in the database factories, and we have additionally from the user factory, the project and the skill one. In fact, we can use the user factory as an inspiration to create our own factories. Now, usually creating factories is a simple task, and essentially you just need to use Faker, which is a PHP library, to create names, emails, words, phrases, and so on. But we are going to have something different this time. We are going to obtain the list of colors and icons from a JSON file. We are going to create a configuration file, and we are going to prepare our models to resolve the list of text colors or background colors or icon names from that file. We are going to do that because a restriction that we have from Tailwind, but we don't know Tailwind yet, even we didn't have an idea about how to use it. So just trust me this time for this. We are going to create and prepare our project for that, and this is going to be much more clear and understandable in a following class once we see why it is failing and why this file is going to save our life. So let's just start creating that file. This is going to be a configuration file, and we are going to store this directly in the resources folder. And there we are going to create a new file, of course, in the JSON folder. This folder does not exist yet, but we are going to create it, and the file is going to be called customization.json. So I already prepared the contents of this file, of course, so you don't need to write one by one. You just need to go, as I did, copy and paste it from wherever do you prefer the resources of this class. We are going to show this there, or you can go directly to the source code of the project and copy that from there. So this is basically what we have here. A JSON file, of course, as you can see, with 3 different arrays. One for text colors, let's say, the second one for background colors, and the third one with the icons. So in the text ones, we have, let's say, classes of Tailwind. All of this is Tailwind for the text: indigo, green, blue, purple, and essentially the same colors but for the background. This is essentially a shortcut for background. And then we have a different set of icon names. Those icons come from an application, or basically a package for npm that we are going to install and explore later, called hero icons. There are a lot of icons, but we just are preparing and using a set of them. Essentially, as it is configurable, you can go later in the future and add a set of new texts, new backgrounds, new icons, and all of them, and your models are going to interact immediately with that and take that into account, allowing you to insert that new data, that new colors, and so on. So once we have these files, we are going to prepare our models to have the capability to define, in the case of skill, the color of the background, and in the case of our projects, the color of the text and the icons. Remember, both of them have a color, but in the case of the skill, we are going to use a background, and in the case of the project, we are going to have the text color itself and the icon. So let's go first with skill in app models. Here it is, skill.php, and there we are going to add the capability to resolve the colors. So we are going to have a public function that we are going to call get available background colors. Get available background colors. Perfect. We don't need any parameter here, and this is going to return the set of colors coming from this customization file. So for this, we need to obtain the set of elements. So we're going to call these elements, and this is going to come from the JSON decode of the contents of that file. So let's do that in a different line. We have a file, and this is going to get the content of that file. Let's be sure to import the definition of file coming directly from Illuminate support facades file. You can see the definition here. And basically here, we are going to have a get from that specific resource path. So we have a helper for Laravel resource path, as you can see here. And the path is going to be the JSON folder. And inside we have the customization.json file. Customization.json. Perfect. So once we have the elements, we have basically this JSON represented in an object into this set of elements, and there we are just going to return from the element the set of background colors. So what is the name of this? This is basically background. So we go to backgrounds and return that. Perfectly functional. We can check that out if you prefer. Additionally, as this doesn't need information directly coming from the model, we can use public static function, which means that we just need to call this directly from the model itself. And similarly, we are going to do for the project model, but this time we are going to resolve the color of the text and additionally the name of the icon. So once again, we have get available text colors, and essentially we need to import the file definition, once again coming from Illuminate support facades file, as you can see here. And this time, even when we come from the same file, we need to get access not to the backgrounds but to the text. So let's copy that and paste it here. And finally, we are going to have the same for get available icons, and this time this is going to return the information from the icons elements that we have here. Perfect. At this point, so we have the capabilities to resolve all of that. Let's just check it out. So let's go to our command prompt and execute php artisan tinker, and we are going to use, for example, from app models skill, and we are going to call this specific function from here, which is get available background colors. So once again, we go back here, and there you have. We are obtaining all of those directly from the JSON file, and essentially we can do the same in the case of project, but this time, of course, with the corresponding names, which are get available text colors. There it is. And finally, to get available icons. There it is. So we know that it works, so we can go and use those directly in our factories and in the way insert the set of names or titles of descriptions for this. So let's go to skill factory, and there in the definition, essentially we can do the same that we did, or as Laravel did, from the user factory. So we use the faker attribute from this specific factory, and we can create names, words, and so on. So let's do something similar. Remember, in the case of skill, we have the name and we have the color. So in the case of name, we can use, again, faker and obtain a random word. So we have this faker, and there we are going to use word. This is going to return a random word that we can assign to this specific element. But remember that the word must be unique. So to avoid any collision, we can use the unique modifier before to getting the specific word. So in that way, faker is going to take care of that. And then we're going to have the color, which is going to be similar to something that we resolve from our model. We already have the set of colors from there. So let's use a color variable here, and let's resolve that from here. So we have color is going to be equals to this faker, and we are going to get a random element. Only one element from a set of elements that we have here. Which elements? Well, essentially the ones that we got from skill and the method that we know that is called get available background colors. So let's copy that from there. Get available background colors. Here it is. And let's be sure to import the definition of skill. You can see here, app models skill. Perfect. And once we have the color, so we can use it here. Again, this is returning an array with all the available background colors, and we are randomly selecting one element from there. And we can do basically the same in the case of project factory. So let's paste it here. But this time, of course, we are going to have not only the color, but the icon. Additionally, the title and the description. So let's proceed similarly. We are going to have a color name, let's say, and we are going to have an icon name to be a little consistent. This is going to be pretty similar to this, but of course, as you may imagine, we are going to use, instead of skill, we are going to use project. And of course, we need to import the definition of project coming from app models project, as you can see here. Now, in the case of project, we have get available text colors and get available icons. So let's to replace it here. Get available, there it is, available text colors and get available icons. And now let's to start with the actual attributes. So we have here the title, and this time as the title is a little longer than a simple word, we are going to get a set of words. So we can just pass the number of words and we are going to say true in the second parameter. This is going to get all of those words not as an array but imploding that with a set of spaces, or basically a single space. So we don't have not an array but an actual phrase, or basically a short phrase. And now that we are talking about phrases, we have the description, which is going to be not unique as we have in the case of the title, but again, this is going to be a set of words. So the best way to get a set of words is a sentence. This is going to be longer than the actual title, so sentence is going to give us a little set of words to bring an actual description, let's say realistic description. Now we have the color, which is going to be equal to the color name that we have in the variables. And finally, we have the icon name, which is going to be, of course, the icon name that we created here. So at this point, we have the project factory and the skill factory, and we can use them and verify those are working properly in the database header. So let's go to our database header here in Seeders, database header, there it is. And there we are going to see essentially the same as here, but for skill. So we have skill. Once again, we need to import the definition of the model. And using the factory of skill, we are going to create, for example, 6 different skills, and the same for project, but this time we are going to create 5 of them. Again, we need to import the definition of project, and there we have the definitions, project and skill, and we are creating 6 skills and 5 different projects. So if everything is okay, we should be able to go back to our command prompt here, and we should go to execute PHP artisan db seed, and it looks like we have a little error. So let's verify. On the define variable icon's name, of course, it is icon name. So let's go to project factory. This is just icon name. Let's try it again. And just in case that you are getting errors in some random way, you can even execute the migrations, migrate fresh, to make sure that you are not acting over already seeded information, and you can pass the flag -- seed. So this is going to destroy the current database structure, the tables, create them again from the migration that we created on the previous class, and execute the seeder. So let's try it again, and there you have. We have already all the structure of our database, and additionally we have a set of 6 skills and 5 projects. Now, how can we verify that? We can use PHP artisan tinker, and we can say, for example, as we did in a previous moment, app models project, and let's to get all the list of projects. So there it is. We have 5 projects. You can see all of them with the corresponding icon name, with the corresponding color, with the corresponding title and description. And we can do exactly the same in the case of skill. And we have 6 skills with the corresponding name, color, and of course the IDs and the timestamp. So we can get out of here, exit, and that's all. We already prepared our project structure in the database, in the backend, the configuration, the dependencies that we need like Laravel JetStream, and we can go to the following section to start exploring deeper every one of those components of the build stack. So see you there because that is gonna be pretty interesting.